is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. And me saying what's good might be the only thing that's good right now, for me, at least in fantasy football. I hope your guys' seasons are going better than mine at the moment, but mine is full of injuries. It is full of bad luck. Oh, dude, I'm down bad right now in fantasy. Just saying, very down bad at the moment. Yesterday was a massacre. There was a lot of injuries across the league. I guess the only thing that's good at this moment is maybe the Sam Darnold experience here in Minnesota. And who would have thought that that would be the only good thing we could take away, for me at least, early on at the start of the season. That being said, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for coming in and talking some fantasy football here with me today, because what we are going to be doing is we are going to be recapping week 2 of the fantasy football season. As you guys know, we do this every Monday, late morning, early afternoon. We'll go through each of the games, talk about who performed, who didn't, key takeaways, injuries, all that good stuff. I got everything for you here today, so that is going to be what we're doing today. So let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into this. The first game we are going to be talking about in today's schedule is this San Francisco 49ers and this Minnesota Vikings game. As I mentioned, the Sam Darnold experience is it's Darnolding at the moment. I mean, this is an interesting experience for Minnesota fans, I think. This feels very Case Keenum-ish. If you've been a Minnesota fan, or if you've at least been around football for a while, you might know what I'm talking about when I say the Case Keenum experience. That feels like what I'm watching right now. I'm getting flashbacks. So anyways, they go in there. They win 17-23 this weekend. Obviously, knocking down the NFC champions last year. So what we get in this game, the Vikings defense, it looks legit. Sam Darnold, he threw a 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson, and Jefferson suffered a quad contusion, but it does sound like he's not going to miss any time. So overall, a solid game. Just looking at the stats for this team, Sam Darnold, he goes 17 for 26 for 268, 2 touchdowns and an interception, passer rating of 109.1. Solid day from Darnold. Rushing-wise, we did have Ty Chandler lead the way with 10 carries. He had 10 carries for 82 yards, averaging 8.2 a clip. And then Aaron Jones, he also had 9 carries for 32 yards, 3.6. He got a little bit banged up in this game. Still kind of waiting to hear some about that. It's been pretty quiet about that injury for the most part. And then Sam Darnold, he did it on the ground as well, 5 for 32. The big thing is the wide receivers here in Minnesota. Obviously, without Jordan Addison in this one, it was Jalen Naylor, Trent Sherfield, Brandon Powell, kind of a mix of the guys. But one thing that wasn't in question, it was Justin Jefferson. 4 receptions for 133 yards, one of those being that 97-yard touchdown run that went to the house. He scored the touchdown on that one. Basically a big day for Justin Jefferson, and he got you a lot of points there on about one play. So could have flipped the script for you there. Other than that, not a lot to take away. I guess as long as Jordan Addison is out, we kind of talked about this on last week's episode, but as long as Jordan Addison is out, Jalen Naylor might be worth at least a look in your fantasy football leagues. He's going to get targets. What he does with those, we'll see. In a dynasty, he's definitely worth an ad, but in a redraft, maybe as well. But let's look over at the San Francisco side of the ball. We'll look at Brock Purdy first, just going to the quarterback position. 28 for 36, 319 in the air passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That being said, after the game, there was a clip. He went up to Brian Flores of the Minnesota Vikings, the defensive coordinator, and he said the scheme is crazy. So he basically was saying that this defense was giving him fits. Now, we got kind of what we expected out of Jordan Mason, as long as he's filling in as the starter here for the San Francisco 49ers. 20 carries, 100 yards, a touchdown. This is going to be pretty standard. I think Jordan Mason is pretty much a locked and loaded running back one as long as Christian McCaffrey is not on the football field. Outside of that, not really a lot to go on about San Francisco's rushing game. Debo, he really wasn't used in the running game, which is weird because I feel like whenever Christian McCaffrey is out, Debo gets used a little bit more, but you see 2 carries for negative 10 yards. Not the best day there for Debo Samuel rushing. But then in the air, he goes 8 receptions for 110 yards on 10 targets. So good day there. Kittle, 7 for 76 and a touchdown. He left with some cramping, ended up coming back. And then also Brandon Ayuk, 4 for 43 on 5 targets. The thing with Brandon Ayuk is he was bracketed and double coverage on a majority of his snaps. So they were really focusing on keeping him out of the game. Andre in here, he says Jay Jettis is a god. Dude, he's so fun to watch. And he says you might be the Niners' kryptonite. Well, I hope so. I hope we're the kryptonite. And I don't know. We'll see what happens with this season. 2-0. I can tell you that's better than I thought we would start this year off. So I can't complain too much. But that's pretty much, what happened here in the San Francisco 49ers and Minnesota Vikings game. Not really, a ton of key takeaways from this one. But overall, I think a lot of people were shocked that the Minnesota Vikings, they came in and won this one. They walk away with the victory. San Fran 1-1, Minnesota 2-0. Who would have thought? Not me. That being said, let's move on to the next game here. The next game here in our schedule, or the one we'll talk about, is going to be the Saints and the Cowboys. Now, this one, another team that's kind of surprising. We said, Minnesota might be a little bit surprising. New Orleans is a little bit surprising. They put up 44 points on the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas goes 19 points here. Very interesting game. A lot of takeaways, I think, for the most part. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this continues. But just looking at the box score, let's talk about the Saints first because they win this game. Derek Carr, he goes 11 for 16, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception, 125 on the passer rating. This was another top 5 finish in fantasy football at the quarterback position for Derek Carr. Very, very interesting to see how this is developing at the moment. I think one thing that I've noticed as well, the offensive tackles in New Orleans, they didn't allow a single pressure during the entire game. The offensive line is looking a lot better this year. Clint Kubiak, he's been a huge addition to this team, and it's been very evident that it's helped Derek Carr here in this offense with Clint Kubiak. Now, looking at the rushing, big day alert, thumbnail player, obviously Alvin Kamara, 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oh, also he goes 2 for 65 in the air and a 4th touchdown in the air as well. He doesn't come off the field the entire game. He's running the ball efficiently. That was the 3rd highest fantasy points from a running back in his first 2 games since 2010. Alvin Kamara is going absolutely nuts in fantasy football at the moment. And hopefully, you guys saw our start-sit video on Thursday. I said Alvin Kamara was a start of the week. I'm not going to say I expected this. This is not what I expected. But we said start him. I hope you did because he went nuclear in fantasy football this week. Outside of that, Jamal Williams still involved. Taysom Hill not really being involved on the ground. I think that Taysom Hill cheat code is not necessarily going to be the cheat code that we think it was going to be. And then outside of that, Rashid Shaheed, he's being used on the ground, 3 for 13. And in the air, 4 for 96 for Shaheed and a touchdown. Olave, 4 for 81. He almost got a touchdown in this one. He was tackled on the 1-yard line. I do want to say with Chris Olave, he is a guy that I am probably trying to buy low on because it's going to happen for Chris Olave in this offense. He had a 37.5% target share in week 2. Like I said, he barely missed the end zone. He was tackled at the 1-yard line. If that goes in, we're talking about it a lot differently for Chris Olave. But I think a big day is coming for Chris Olave. He's a player that I'm probably buying low on in fantasy football right now. And then Rashid Shaheed, I think a lot of people felt like he was just a deep threat. He is not just a deep threat. He's being used much more than that in this offense. And he is definitely a legit number 2 wide receiver in the NFL right now and somebody that is definitely going to have some value in fantasy football long term. But let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, you see, Dak Prescott goes out there 27 for 39, 293 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Dowdle on the ground, 7 for 30 with Zeke, 6 for 16. Even Deuce Vaughn was getting in the mix, 4 for 11. Not a good day for anybody on the ground. Unfortunately, Dowdle, Zeke, all of these guys, full-blown committee here in Dallas. Makes it very, very undesirable for fantasy football. I don't really know who we can play any given week. They all kind of hurt each other. And also on top of that, this Saints defense just played this team well. Looking at the receiving, obviously CeeDee Lamb, he goes 4 for 90 and a touchdown. He had that long 65-yard play. But outside of that, they played him pretty well. He had the home run play, but it was a pretty bad day for Dallas. Tolbert looks like the number 2. 6 for 82, 9 targets. Brandon Cooks, he's going to have his days where he is getting, the big plays and he might find the end zone and things like that. I think Tolbert is looking like a legitimate weapon in this offense. He might be somebody that you can pick up off the waiver wire and use. And then Schoonmaker, he goes 6 for 43, just filling in for Jake Ferguson until Ferguson gets back. But overall, not a ton of takeaways from Dallas, just a bad game, and obviously not what you want to see if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan. So let's move on to this next game here. The next game is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. We can talk about this one here. What do we got? Tampa wins 20-16, a little bit of an upset alert. And then in this one, Baker Mayfield, 12 for 19, 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And then kind of put some moves on some people there as well. He was a rushing weapon in this one at times. 5 carries, 34 yards, a touchdown. He sat the linebacker for the Lions. I can't remember what his name is. Rodriguez. Sat him on his ass. Hit him with the got his ass. Pretty funny to see Baker Mayfield doing all that. Bucky Irving, 7 for 22, pretty inefficient on the ground. Rachaad White, 10 for 18, inefficient on the ground. It does look like Rachaad White, this is just his backfield still. I know people are going to chatter and they want to hear Bucky Irving. He's just as inefficient as Rachaad White. Sorry, not sorry. I know he had that 30-yard run, in week 1 or whatever it was. He got a little bit banged up, and that's Rachaad White. Rachaad White got a little bit banged up, but he came back in, and he came back in pretty quickly, and he just continues to see the majority of this backfield. So he's somebody that I'm not too worried about at the moment. The big thing that I think we've been wrong on this offseason, the big thing that I've been wrong on in Dynasty and everything, for the most part, I would say this is my biggest miss of the whole year so far. Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin goes 7 for 117 yards, 1 touchdown on 8 targets. Let me just throw this stat out there because this is a crazy stat. Chris Godwin had 117 of the Bucs' 133 offensive yards in the first half. He had 117 of their 133 offensive yards in the first half of the game. Let that sink in. He is a number 1 wide receiver in this offense right now. At least he's being used as it. And Mike Evans, 3 for 42. Not the day, obviously, because he doesn't find the end zone. But overall, they didn't have to do too much. They were kind of controlling the pace of play in this one as well. So just a good day from Tampa Bay. Let me pull in one of these questions. We got traded Mayfield, Dobbins, Worthy for CMC. Thoughts? Already have Barkley and Robinson. I don't know, to be honest. We'll see how long it takes CMC to get back on the football field. But I think obviously you get the best player in the deal if he does come back and get a full workload. But you're giving up a lot of production for the next couple of weeks with Mayfield, Dobbins, Worthy. And Robinson, I'm not super confident in him as my running back too, especially in a 10-man league because people are going to have better running backs than Robinson. You probably win this one with the contingency plan that CMC does play, but there's no guarantee that he's back, in 3 weeks. That's not guaranteed at all. Now, that being said, let's go to the Detroit Lions side of the football. Some things to talk about here. Dan Campbell says he cost them this game. But Jared Goff, he goes 34 for 55, 307 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Bad day from Goff. Very bad day from Goff. In this game as well, the Lions were 1 of 7 in the red zone. 1 of 7. Not a typical day for a Ben Johnson-led offense. It wasn't great. Jahmyr Gibbs, he goes 13 for 84, 0 touchdowns. Montgomery, 11 for 35 with the touchdown. If you thought that Jahmyr Gibbs was going to get that touchdown, you're wrong. You don't know this Lions offense. Monty is always going to get those goal line carries. Unfortunately for Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's just the way that this one goes. Amon-Ra, welcome back. Week 1 isn't what we wanted out of you, but there you go. 11 for 119. Didn't get the end zone, 19 targets. Love to see it. J-Mo still involved, 5 for 79, 11 targets, and then really nobody else. One takeaway here that I feel like is a little bit worrisome, a tiny bit worrisome. Sam Laporta, 2 for 13, 3 targets. So far this year, 8 targets and less than 60 receiving yards through the first 2 weeks. I think this is probably because of the emergence of Jameson Williams, and this is partially why Laporta, he was a bad investment this offseason, and why many people, including myself, told you to sell Sam Laporta in dynasty leagues, told you not to draft Sam Laporta in redraft leagues as the number 1 tight end. It wasn't sustainable. What he did last year was not sustainable, and it's showing right now, and the emergence of Jameson Williams is making it even worse. It's making it even harder for Sam Laporta to pay off at the ADP of which you drafted him. He is a tight end that I am worried about. I think if he's not getting the usage, if he's not finding the touchdowns, there's just no way. There's no way that he pays off at the ADP of which you drafted him. And it's unfortunate. Right now, Trey McBride is looking like the best tight end pick in the first, of those top 5 guys. You had Kelsey, Laporta, Andrews, Kincaid, McBride. McBride looks like the guy you should have picked. And Sam Laporta looks like the guy you definitely should not have picked. Kelsey doesn't look great. Andrews he had a better week this week. We'll talk about Andrews. It's tough, man. It's tough. Brando says Amon-Ra came back to life. He did. And he got a little bit banged up, but it sounds like everything checked out fine. It sounds like he's going to be all right. Andre says Garrett Wilson's starting to worry me a little bit. I will say don't worry about him. We'll talk about Garrett Wilson here in a minute, but I'm not worried about Garrett Wilson. We'll talk about why. We just got one more game to go to. But I guess that's really all that I have for this Lions and this Bucs game, so we'll move on to the next one. The next game that we have here is going to be the Colts gross game. Colts and the Packers. Somehow the Packers win. Malik Willis under center, and they still win this one. Whatever. The Colts are 0-2. Packers come out 1-1. Let's talk about Green Bay. Everything, the first quarter of week 1, there was Josh Jacobs washed allegations being thrown around. He looks good. He does not look washed to me. Goes out in this one, 32 carries, 151 yards, 4.7 per carry. Doesn't find the end zone, whatever. That day is very good if he finds the end zone. Still a good day, even though, it's probably not going to translate to a ton of fantasy points. Marshawn Lloyd also left with another injury in this one. Unfortunate for Lloyd. But I think my biggest takeaway here, we can talk about Willis, 12 for 14, 122, 1 touchdown. He did his job, as the backup quarterback. Your job is to give your team a chance to win when the starter is out, and you were called upon. That's what he did. 6 carries on the ground for 41 yards as well. Jaden Reed used on the ground. I think my takeaway here is we have, all these Green Bay receiving options. While Love is out, you cannot play Green Bay Packers pass catchers. Dobbs, 3 for 62. Wicks, 3 for 26. He found the end zone, so he's probably had the best fantasy day. Kraft, 2 for 16. Reed, 2 for 9. Musgrave, 1 for 6. Christian Watson, where you at? 0 for 0. Not a good day. We cannot play Green Bay Packers pass catchers with Jordan Love off the football field. So next week, if you're looking at start-sit questions, Jaden Reed or this guy, Romeo Dobbs or this guy, Christian Watson or this guy, I'd say 99% of the time the answer is the other guy, not the Green Bay Packers option, unfortunately. Malik Willis is just not going to throw the football enough. Let's talk a little bit about Indianapolis because they looked bad. The Colts defense looks bad. I think you can fire up running backs against this defense all day long. We've seen 2 running backs now go and rip off a ton of carries and a ton of yards against them. Joe Mixon in week 1, Josh Jacobs in week 2. I think we can continue to fire running backs up against this team. There was some inaccuracy from A-Rich at times, and I think this is going to be the roller coaster experience of Anthony Richardson. We talked about this a little bit last week as well. He goes 17 for 34, 204 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Bad day for Anthony Richardson. I think the first time in his career where he started a game, played the entire game, and finished outside of the top 10. Didn't finish as a QB1 in fantasy football. I'm not necessarily worried, but like I said, this is the roller coaster experience. He didn't even do enough on the ground, I think, to even make us feel good. 4 for 37. It's not as much as you'd like to see. Jonathan Taylor, only 12 carries, but he goes 103 yards. Great day from Jonathan Taylor. They just didn't score enough in this game, so, nobody really had the day that we wanted to see. That being said, we're looking at some of these receiving options here in Indianapolis. Alec Pierce leads the day again. 5 for 56, a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, 2 for 32 in the air. Adonai Mitchell, 1 for 30. Michael Pittman, 3 for 21 on 7 targets. I'm a little bit nervous about Michael Pittman. I'm a little bit nervous because the thing about what we've liked from Pittman over the last couple of years is he gets a ton of targets. He gets a lot of PPR points because he's catching all of these footballs, and he still has some big playability. I think with Josh Downs supposed to get back into the lineup here soon, Pierce looking better than expected, Adonai looking all right, Pittman looking all right, it's going to get crowded. There's not enough passing volume in this offense for all of these guys to eat. Pittman's a sell high for me. If you can get somebody to buy into Michael Pittman because of the name cachet, somebody's going to buy the name value, Michael Pittman's a guy I'm getting out of at the moment because he's going to be very inconsistent for the rest of the year, and he's just somebody that I'm not really confident in, I guess, right now with the way that this offense looks. Andre says, I'm down 21 with Bijan, Pitts, and Eagles defense left to play. Am I winning this? I think so. I think Bijan can get you 21 by himself, to be honest. So I think you are winning that. Let's move on to the next game here. Our next game is going to be, this is where we can talk about the Garrett Wilson. Our next game is going to be the Jets. It's also going to be the Titans. New York wins this one 24-17. Tennessee goes 0-2. New York's 1-1. Let's talk about New York first. Aaron Rodgers, 18 for 30, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's whatever for fantasy football at the moment. The offense isn't great. They're good enough. They run, through Breece Hall for the majority of their game. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a guy that's like, I don't know, a mid QB2 most weeks. You probably don't want to play him unless you're just streaming him. Donnie says, what's good, bro? What's good, man? That being said, Breece Hall, 14 for 62. In the air, he goes 7 for 52 and a touchdown. Big day from Breece Hall. You like that? You know what you don't like to see if you have Breece Hall on your fantasy teams? Braylon Allen being annoying. 7 for 33 and a touchdown. Braylon Allen also on the air. 2 for 23 and a touchdown. Why is Braylon Allen getting in the end zone for me when you got Breece Hall on your fantasy team? It's annoying. It's very annoying, but you know what? Good for Braylon Allen. I think some people are going to chase those points and try and pick him up on waivers. I'm not spending a ton to go get Braylon Allen in my leagues off of waivers. Donnie says, I traded A.J. Brown for Garrett Wilson. I don't trust hamstring injuries. Did I mess up? No, I don't think you messed up. I think they're about the same. And Garrett Wilson might not miss next week. And A.J. Brown might miss next week. So I don't think you messed up. Speaking of Garrett Wilson, like Andre said, he's a little bit nervous. He says he's starting to worry. Donnie said, did I mess up? I'm not worried about Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson, he hasn't had the big game yet, but the usage is there. The usage we want to see out of the wide receiver is there. So the big game may be coming soon. It's not ideal, obviously, that he hasn't had it yet, but so far the data is pointing to the point that this is going to happen for Garrett Wilson. 4 for 57, no touchdown. He had 6 targets. Like I said, Breece Hall being used in the air. The offense runs through Breece. That's just the way that this is. Mike Williams, 1 for 19. Lazard, 2 for 11. Conklin, 1 for 10. Really, if it's not Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, that's not the way that this offense is running, man. It's just these two guys, and that's it. And that may get him in trouble sometimes, but that's the way that it's been. Allen says, Andre says, Allen with the goal line touches scares me. Donnie says, I don't like the running game is interfering with what Garrett Wilson can be going, but week 3 looks promising. Yeah, man, I'm just not nervous about Garrett Wilson yet. Like I said, we've seen the usage. Let's move on. Let's talk about Tennessee. Tennessee for me in this one, there's a couple takeaways. One, Will Levis, you suck, dude. I'm sorry. 19 for 28, 192, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Absolutely ridiculous turnover in the red zone where he tries to throw a backwards pass, getting out of the pocket. Horrible play by Will Levis. Brian Callahan ripped him in the post-game press conference saying he's a grown man. He needs to, he's better than this, blah, 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 blah. Can't make those mistakes. It's the same stupid mistake that he made last week. Ripped him in the press conference. Will Levis, this is a coaching staff that did not draft Will Levis. I'm just saying, if the Titans go out here, they go 0-4, 0-5, 0-6, whatever, it takes. This coaching staff chose to bring in Mason Rudolph this offseason. And Mason Rudolph might be the better option for this offense. So, that being said, not a great day from Will Levis. Brando says week 2 of Levis memes. Yeah, there's more Levis memes, man. They're gonna keep happening because he makes these mistakes. He made these mistakes in college. There's a reason why he went in the second round. That said, Tony Pollard, he goes 17 for 62. No touchdown in this one. Spears goes 6 for 20. Calvin Ridley's the guy who actually gets the rushing touchdown. Tony Pollard looks good, man. He's a running back that I am buying. Tony Pollard is a buy in fantasy at the moment. Spears even got banged up in this one. It doesn't sound like it's going to be serious. But Pollard is a buy. He's the guy you want. Calvin Ridley, what a day. 4 for 77, a touchdown. Like I said, 2 touchdowns in this one because he had the one on the ground. What you like to see out of Ridley. Pollard being used in the receiving game, 5 for 40. Boyd there, Okonkwo, all these other guys, whatever. Really the main takeaway here is Pollard is really who you want. Ridley's going to have his days, but as long as Will Levis is here in Tennessee, it's going to be inconsistent, and there's going to be some just bonehead behavior out of this offense. So that's kind of this game here. Let me answer this one question we got right here. Donnie says, I also traded Kyron Williams for Travis Etienne because the Rams O-line is in shambles. Good move. Not a bad one. Not a bad one for sure. Let's move on to the next one here. I apologize. I just keep touching my nose. I feel like it's ticklish. It's itchy, so don't mind me. Now that said, we are going to the Seahawks game. The Seahawks game is the one that we want. Looking at this game, we did have the Seahawks win 23-20 in overtime. We got overtime there. Let's start with Seattle. They won the game. Ryan Grubb's offense is looking a lot better. Week 1, it was sketchy in the first half, but in the second half, it's looking better. And then now in week 2, definitely a lot better in this one. No Kenneth Walker. Geno Smith goes 33 for 44, 327 and 1. Zach Charbonnet steps in, gets 14 carries, 38 yards, 1 touchdown. Not the best day on the ground. This is a tougher New England defense, so keep that in mind. But Zach Charbonnet, he played 96% of the snaps with Walker out. It's good to know that, there's very few running backs that when the starter gets hurt, the backup steps in and is the bona fide bell cow number 1 guy. Zach Charbonnet is that guy for this offense. So if Kenneth Walker is out longer, if he misses more time in the future, we can confidently throw Charbonnet in the lineup because he is a bell cow when Walker is not in the lineup. Now, here at the wide receiver position, we were expecting a little bit of a tougher day for Metcalf. He gets 10 receptions for 129 and a touchdown along with 56, 14 targets. It's not a bad day to me. We expected it to be a tougher matchup just because Christian Gonzalez, he still broke the big one off and he got the touchdown. So you know what? Good day for DK. JSN breakout game. Holy hell. 12 receptions, 117 yards, 16 targets. JSN must have heard me. He must have heard me because JSN, I was talking about this week, it might be over. It might be over. And then JSN does this. Jason, why you got to do this to me? I was about to be out. I was going to be out. Now you've pulled me back in. 178 air yards in this game as well. Great day for the Seahawks offense. This is what you want to see. We want to see DK. We want to see JSN. We want to see these guys, put up stat lines like this. This is what you want. Charbonnet, he goes 5 for 31 on the air as well. Overall, like you said, good day out of Seattle. What else we got here? Brando says, you think me trading Jameson for Pollard is worth, or is that too much? Full PPR. If you need the running back, I don't mind it. Like I said, Pollard is a buy for me at the running back position. This is fine. Jameson's going to have his days. He looks like he's going to be involved in this offense. That's a good offense. But Pollard is a bell cow. Caleb says he just doesn't sleep. Maybe, man. I feel like maybe you see the bags under the eyes. We do this, man. JSN flying backup dynasty rankings right when I was going to be out. Whatever. I'll take it. I like JSN. Let's go to the New England side of the ball. New England. Gerard Mayo, Alex Van Pelt. What are they going to do? They're going to establish the damn run. And what else do? They feed the tight end. One thing we'll talk about is Hunter Henry. What the hell? Jacoby Brissett, 15 for 27, 149 yards and a touchdown. This offense is still going to be iffy until Drake May gets into it. But Antonio Gibson, 11 carries. Ramondre, 21 carries. Both these guys, put up the yardages that you want to see. Ramondre gets into the end zone. Leading receiver for the Patriots. 8 receptions, 109 yards, 12 freaking targets. Hunter Henry. if they're going to keep feeding Hunter Henry the football, he should be rostered in every fantasy football league. If you're streaming the position, you got injuries to Njoku, you got injuries to Jake Ferguson, any of these guys, Hunter Henry is a pick up and play type of guy every single week. And it sounds crazy, but he's going to see the usage, especially if you're in a tight end premium. 12 targets, you can't ask for anything more than that. That is a blessing at the tight end position. And the way that the tight end position has been so far this year, Kelsey, Kincaid, these other guys, that's more than they're getting. That's more than what those guys are getting, and it's Hunter Henry. So definitely somebody to watch. Jalen Polk, he finds the end zone, but still only 2 receptions on 3 targets. Like I said, this offense is going to be very hard to invest in outside of maybe Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry at the moment until Drake May gets on the football field and they start to open up this passing offense a little bit more. At least that's the hope when Drake May gets under center. But let's move on to the next game. We'll talk about the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders. They are the one next up on the ticket for us, I guess on the agenda. New York, 18 points. They lose this one, 21 to the Washington Commanders. Craziest stat you'll probably hear all week. The Giants, they score 3 touchdowns. They score 3 touchdowns. They don't give up a touchdown, and they lose. You score 3 touchdowns. You don't give up a touchdown to the offensive side of the ball, and you lose. What the hell? How? That's like scoregami. That's crazy that would even happen. But let's talk about Washington first. They win this game. Daniels goes 23 for 29, 226 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The Jaden Daniels experience is going to be it's going to be this all year long. You know what you like to see, though? 10 carries, 44 yards. The passing offense is bad. It is a bad passing offense, but Jaden Daniels, he's going to keep running the football, and if he does, he's going to score fantasy points. The only thing that I don't like seeing is Jaden Daniels taking these hits. He got hit hard in this one a couple of times. Kid doesn't slide. He doesn't slide. He needs to start sliding because there was a scare for a minute where he got knocked out of the game, came back in, but he's going to get hurt if he doesn't, tidy it up a little bit. You love to see the rushing, but damn, dude, that kid is going to get knocked out. It's just, unfortunately. Brian Robinson Jr., 17 carries for 133 yards and a touchdown, or no touchdown there. So, good day out of Brian Robinson. He's going to still be used. Ertz leads the way, 4 for 62. If you watched the BDG video this week with the guys, I said Ertz was a pick up and stream type of option. 4 for 62. PPR league, that gives you 10 points. What else can you ask for when a pick up and stream type of option? Eckler 3 for 47 in the air, being used as a weapon. McLaurin 6 for 22 on 8 targets. I said it before the game. I'll say it again. Terry McLaurin is one of the players that I am the most worried about in fantasy football. It is absolute panic level. The panic meter, it is all the way over to the end. It is full panic now on Terry McLaurin. I am selling him. I do not want him on any team. This is danger zone for Terry McLaurin. No way. Everybody else, whatever. Nobody else really super important. Brian Robinson was used in the receiving game last week. Not really used this week. We'll see what happens moving forward. Donnie says, Kyron Williams or Travis Etienne. I traded Williams for him because the Ram O-line. Yeah, I told you earlier when you threw this in there, I like the idea. This Rams O-line is bad, so I'm not opposed to this trade. Let's move on to this next game. Next game is going to be the Chargers and the Carolina Panthers. Where are we? Chargers, Panthers, box score. Go. My stream is so laggy right now. I don't know why. Hopefully we don't lose it, but it's pretty laggy, so bear with me for a second. Brando says, yeah, I thought McLaurin was going to skyrocket. Rough. It's bad, man. It is bad news bears. Speaking of bad news bears, we'll talk about some bad news bears here a little bit later, but Chargers in this one, they win 26-3. You expect anything different? I said this Panthers team is bad. Bad, bad, bad. You can fire anybody up against the Panthers all year long. Apparently, you can fire up Quentin Johnston against the Panthers, and he'll have a decent fantasy football day as well. Justin Herbert, he goes 14 for 20, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Fantasy football-wise, not great. Herbert, he left this game for a moment with a ankle and a foot injury. He ended up coming back in. He plays through it. Something to monitor, but nothing I'm very worried about. The Chargers' next 2 matchups are a little bit of tougher for sure. They're not the Raiders and they're not the Panthers. You get the Steelers and you get the Chiefs. Much, much tougher matchups, so it's going to be interesting to see how this works out with what they've been doing, which is feed J.K. Dobbins the football, feed Gus Edwards the football, run the football. It's going to be able to see, it's going to be tough. We'll see what happens moving forward. That being said, J.K. Dobbins, he's still the number 1 in this offense. The running back 1, 17 carries, 131 yards. Goes out there, scores the touchdown as well. We had him as a start of the week. This was why. Gus Edwards, 18 for 59. Herbert, 6 for 18 on the ground. This is the thing I said. QJ, maybe tiny breakout, or is it just the Carolina Panthers? Probably the latter. Probably was just the Carolina Panthers. Maybe not the little breakout. But we saw some positives over the last 2 weeks. Goes 5 receptions, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 targets in this one. Will Disley, McConkey, Joshua Palmer, 3 receptions, 2 receptions. Nothing really big to take away from these guys. You can chase Quentin Johnston on the waiver wire if you want. I'm not. If you play with Fab, I'll throw $1. If I win him for $1, fine. But the reality is I'm probably not winning him for $1 because somebody wants to chase 2 touchdowns. I'm not chasing 2 touchdowns. Like I said, the next couple matchups, the Steelers, the Chiefs. I'd be shocked if Quentin Johnston scores 2 touchdowns in the next 2 games combined against those guys. Donnie says, sorry, bro. Oh, dude, don't worry about it. Anthony says, look, I found this dusty receipt. Kyler over Caleb. Where'd you find that receipt at? Brando says, you think Johnston worth picking up over Curtis Samuel? Well, there you go. No, I don't really think he's worth picking up. I'm not chasing him on the waiver wire. Slayer says, I agree 100%. I traded for him thinking the same thing. I'm not giving up, though. So there you go. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers. Brando says, speaking of bad news bears, Carolina Panthers could also be considered bad news here. Bryce Young, where do I start? This might be a little bit therapeutic here, guys. So bear with me. As you guys know, last year during the draft process, I liked Bryce Young. I was a little bit of a Bryce Young apologist last season. Well, look at the team that he had around him. Well, look at this. Well, look at that. Bryce Young was good. Bryce Young was blah, 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 blah. Brother, Bryce Young sucks ass. I'm filing my paperwork. Today. I'm out on Bryce Young. This is over. I do not... I'm filing the paperwork for you to take my name away from any future Bryce Young conversations. I thought the Dave Canales thing could help. He's been deemed as this QB guru. He helped Baker. He helped Geno. I'm out. He ain't helping you, Bryce. It looks like this is over with. The experiment is ending quickly. So I'm filing my paperwork. I'm out of this, man. I do not associate my name in future Bryce Young conversations. Everything I say moving forward, I am not the same guy as I was back then when I was apologizing for Bryce Young. He is off my board. I'm done. I am selling him in dynasty leagues. I have already started shopping. I don't think I can get it. But I'm throwing out 26 first-round picks. If you want Bryce for a 26 first, take him. Next on the agenda, if everybody declines those, which most people are declining those, I'll take a 25 second. Give me the 25 second and maybe throw a third on top. Give me that. I'm out on Bryce Young, man. This Panthers, the Panthers team, they have not run a play with a lead. This is a crazy stat for you. The Panthers have not ran a play with a lead Since week 10 of 2023, week 10 of 2023, last year, this team is bad. So he goes 18 for 26, 84 yards, an interception. There's a meme floating around on the internet. It looks like Bryce wants to cry. People are making fun of it. It's sad, man. It's a sad story for Bryce Young, dude. This is not looking good. Chuba, he goes 10 for 64. This offense is going to be very inefficient, man. Sanders still involved, 7 for 20. The rest of these guys, I don't want to talk about them. Tommy Tremble leads the way in the receptions and the yardage. Dunzo. Deontay, I'm sorry. You've been plagued with bad quarterback play forever. We thought it was going to change. It ain't changing. Sorry, brother. Is there really anything else to take away from this game? This is horrible, man. Donnie says Bryce Young is nasty work. They start up Andy Dalton, Thielen, and Johnson value go up. Maybe. He is atrocious. He looks like a college first-year quarterback. This is bad, man. Flacco needs a Panthers comeback. Can Carolina? They're not going to. They're going to rock with Bryce the whole year. They're going to. Bryce won't get benched. But is it a bad idea if Carolina trades for Russell Wilson sitting on the bench there in Pittsburgh? Russell Wilson and Dave Canales, they could do all right. I don't know. Not good. Not good. I don't want to talk about this game anymore. Get me out of here. Move on to the next one. Here you go. Browns and Jacksonville Jaguars. Browns win this one 18-13. Weird takeaway because of the usage of Jerome Ford. We did not see the same usage that we saw in week 1 that we saw here in week 2. But they still won the football game, so let's talk about him. Deshaun Watson, he comes in here, 22 for 34, 186, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Deshaun, you looked better, but you still looked bad. That is the story of Deshaun Watson at the moment. Jerome Ford, like I said, the usage was not the same as we got in week 1. This time, you see Donta Foreman. He leads the way with 14 carries, 42 yards. Ford gets 7 for 64. The game scripts were different, so that's something I'm paying attention to. Last week when they were trailing, Ford was getting a lot more work. Now when they're leading, Foreman is getting work. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Watson on the ground, 5 for 20 and a touchdown on the ground. Whatever. Jameis Winston even got some carries in this game. 2 for 4. Then receiving-wise, you have Jerry Jeudy who goes 5 for 73, leads the way with 6 targets. Well, has 6 targets. He doesn't lead the way. Amari Cooper led the way. Had 91 air yards here in this game as well, but he still only comes down with 3 for 11. Not great. For Amari Cooper, not the start of the season you wanted to see. Jerry Jeudy kind of looks like the guy right now. Elijah Moore, he steps in. Reason why he stepped in is David Njoku's out. So Elijah Moore kind of played underneath where David Njoku normally plays. It's not kind of the same thing, but that's what happens here in this game. Outside of that, not really anything to take away from the Browns. They looked better than they looked last week, but they still look bad. Let's look at the game for the Jags. The play calling in Jacksonville has not been consistent. Doug Peterson, maybe. I don't know what the odds are right now, but Doug Peterson may be the first head coach fired this season. Maybe a hot take, maybe not. I think he could be the first head coach let go. That being said, Trevor Lawrence, 14 for 30, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I didn't even think Trevor looked that bad in this game. I thought he actually looked pretty decent at times. Obviously, they don't score in the air. ETN, he goes 13 for 52 and a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence, 2 for 45. Rushing, that's what you like to see out of Trevor Lawrence. Receiving, BTJ, 2 for 94. 4 targets, along with 66. He's going to play as that big play guy. And we've kind of seen this. The offense is a little bit more focused than years past, pushing the football down the field. And that's because you add a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. into this offense. The thing that is worrisome is Christian Kirk. looks like he's just not going to be a reliable fantasy football asset anymore for this team, at least the way that the offense currently looks. I think we can safely say Christian Kirk belongs on your bench moving forward until further notice. Another big thing about this game, last minute, Evan Engram was hurt in the pregame warmups. It's probably a risk at missing week 3 as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. But that's why you see Brenton Strange in there. Maybe it would have been a better day for Engram if he would have played, but obviously he got hurt. What do we got in here? Brando says Kirk. Yeah, it's not looking good, man. To the XLS folder it goes. Hot take Peterson. Anthony, I need you to, like, when you get these XLS folders, whatever, when you get these takes, I need you to file them away and, like, save them. That way we can, we can track these things. I like you keeping me accountable. I like it. But there we go. Let's move on to the next game. This was a bad week of football, man. Not a great week of football. I'm also probably just in a bad mood with football right now because, like I said, my fantasy football team is absolutely in shambles. I thought it was bad, talking about my team with you guys last, I guess on Sunday, start sit. T. Higgins injured, Jake Ferguson injured, Puka Nacua injured, Raheem Mostert injured. You want to know cherry on top? Let's throw in Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco on that roster, let's give him a fractured fibula as well. They being the fantasy football gods, they're punishing me for something. I have a theory. I've not told my league mates this. I was in charge of transporting the trophy for our league. Somebody forgot it at the house. This year's champ, they forgot it at the house. I put it in the backseat of the car. I was going to transfer and drive it to them and give it to them. The trophy broke. You heard that right. The trophy broke in my possession. I turned in the car and the trophy fell. And the top, the ornament of the trophy, it broke. Snapped off. I think I've been cursed because I broke the trophy. I fixed the trophy. You could never tell. If I never had this receipt, if nobody knew of this, if nobody knew of this moment, if this didn't get clipped or put on the internet, nobody would be able to tell that the trophy was broke in my possession. It looks perfect. But I broke the trophy. Technically, I didn't. Technically, I was just driving and the trophy broke in my possession. I think I'm being cursed because I broke the trophy. Anyways, I'm whatever. Fantasy football has not been fun for me right now. Brando says, it's a sign. Let's move on to the next game. We don't scrub that from the internet. Anthony, do not put that in the XLS folder. We don't need my league mates seeing that one. Raiders-Ravens, is this the next one? Raiders-Ravens. What the hell? This is one of those games, man. 26-23, Raiders win. Baltimore 0-2. Yeah, who would have thought? Let's talk about where are my entertainers says hang in there, man. Look, we're gonna stay alive. The motto still is get in to the playoffs. That's all. I just need to get in. We don't got to do anything crazy. Gardner Minshew, 30 for 38, 276, 1-1, 5 sacks for 43 yards. Big takeaway for me is Alexander Mattison, man. He got some goal line carries here now. Not Zamir White. Zamir did not get the goal line carries. Alexander Mattison did. I think Mattison is a must-add in all formats at the moment. He almost seems like he's being utilized over Zamir White at the moment. And he got the rushing touchdown. So 4 for 1, obviously not the day you want to see. 9 for 24 from Zamir, definitely not the day you want to see. But, yeah, not good. Receiving-wise, Devontae Adams, let's talk about the good. 9 for 110, 1 touchdown, 12 targets. You love to see it. Brock Bowers, 9 for 98. You love to see it. Jacoby Myers, 4 for 28, whatever. Brock Bowers, he has 17 targets through his first 2 career games. 17 targets through the first 2 career games. He might actually be the tight end 1 in redraft, in fantasy football, in dynasty fantasy football, and we are 2 games into his career. It looks actually legit. Brock Bowers is being utilized as the number 1 wide receiver in this offense over Devontae Adams at times, and he's performing. Brock Bowers is the number 1 tight end, I think, moving forward. I'm ready to already crown him that. He is legit. Where my entertainer said, at least you fixed it. No curse. I called Joe Boo. All clear. I appreciate it then. I appreciate it. Actually, I had one of my buddies, really good friend of mine. Really, really good friend. Like, actually, kind of like a brother to me. And he was with me. He was vlogging the weekend. If you haven't seen the vlog weekend on here, it's one of my favorite videos I've ever done. I strongly suggest you go check it out. But he was recording the weekend, and he fixed it. He said I couldn't touch the trophy. After it had broke, I was not allowed to touch the trophy because then that would transfer the curse. So he took the curse for me, said he would lose, his fantasy football leagues forever as long as I didn't get cursed. So he actually helped, me try and avoid this curse. I texted him today. I said, I don't know if it's working, but at least we'll see. Real one, taking the fantasy curse for me, at least trying to. Day says, just joined, love the content as always. You cover the Saints game yet? Proving a lot of people wrong so far. Who dat? We did cover them. They do look legit. I said probably New Orleans and probably probably New Orleans and probably Minnesota are 2 of the most surprising teams to start off the year, proving a lot of people wrong. So you got the who dat, Skull and who dat. We got a history of not liking each other. Today we can say congratulations to both of us. I'll do that. Anthony says Brock Bowers exceeded ADP. Many stayed away in redraft. Yeah, I was kind of one of the people that was like, I don't really like the ADP of Brock Bowers, but he is proving it right now, right away, immediately as a rookie. You love to see it. I will say, in a dynasty format, make sure you go, if there's any opening of Brock Bowers' buy window, it's going to close very quickly. If it hasn't already closed, try and go buy him. Where my entertainer says, 12 viewers, 12 likes. I found my crew. Let's go. Real humans. Love to see it, man. Love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Let's talk about the Ravens. 21 for 34 from Lamar Jackson, 247 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Derrick Henry, 18 for 84, 1 touchdown. Lamar Jackson, 5 for 45 on the ground. Zay Flowers, this is kind of what I want to talk about the most. 7 for 91 and a touchdown on 11 targets. Mark Andrews, welcome back, buddy. 4 for 51, 5 targets. Likely 2 for 26, 3 targets. And that's kind of the day that we had out of this. That being said, the Ravens have led the league in 12 personnel and 2 tight end sets through 2 weeks. So Likely's role, it is still staying. For those of you that panicked and said Mark Andrews is dead, Mark Andrews isn't going to be the good. Mark Andrews is fine. Mark Andrews has always been fine. He kind of showed it here this week. 4 for 51. Better than last week, obviously. Not an insane day by any means. But look, Mark Andrews is the tight end 1A. Likely is 1B. And they run more 12 personnel and more 2 tight end sets than anybody. Do not worry. You can play both of those tight ends. This just was a matchup where we didn't really get the production. It's a weird one. Vegas wins. Who would have thought? The big winner here for me in the Baltimore Ravens offense is going to be Zay Flowers. He is working underneath. He is being used heavily. He's being targeted heavily. He is the first read on almost every single play. PPR leagues, Zay Flowers is what you want. Dynasty, he's looking legit. My big thing with Zay Flowers in a Dynasty league format this offseason was I wanted to see Zay Flowers establish himself as the number 1 read with Mark Andrews on the field. Through 2 games, he's done that. I like what I see out of Zay Flowers. Big winner for me right now. Where My Entertainer says Kamara is good for a 40-point game per year. Crazy it came at Dallas. We had him as the start of the week. I didn't project 4 touchdowns. Definitely not even close. But We had him as the start of the week at the running back position. So let's move on to this next game here. Going to move on to the Rams and the Cardinals. That is the next game on the agenda. This was a fun one. I liked this game. We had the Rams lose 10-41. Welcome, Arizona. 1-1 on the season, 41 points. Were you one of the people that panicked about Marvin Harrison Jr. after week 1? Because if you were, I'm sorry, you were wrong. We didn't panic about Marvin Harrison Jr. We've said it on multiple videos this week. We are not worried about Marvin Harrison Jr. This was the coming out party. There was a lot of bullshit on the internet, on Twitter, on whatever. People talking about, he only ran 16 miles per hour. We don't care. We don't care. Marvin Harrison Jr. is him. There you go. 17 for 21, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. Perfect passer rating. James Conner, 21 for 122 and a touchdown. Love to see it. 5 for 59 for Kyler on the ground. Was actually creating magic in the pocket. Love to see it, extending the plays. Kyler was 5 for 5 on throws 20-plus yards down the field. Love to see it. Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 for 130, 2 touchdowns, 8 targets. Love to see it. Trey McBride, 6 for 67, 6 targets. Love to see it. Like I said, great day for everybody all around. We don't care about no miles per hour. We don't care. Where my entertainer says, what? Kamara was your start of the week? Damn, you hit money. I had him as the start of the week. So our starts of the week this week we do the start of the week and the sits of the week video every Thursday. So if you want to check those out, go ahead and check those out. Starts of the week this week were Alvin Kamara, J.K. Dobbins, and then at wide receiver we had Devontae Smith, who plays tonight, and who was my other one? I can't remember who my other one was. I thought they hit, though. I could actually tell you. 1 second. Start of the week. Nabers. We had Nabers as a start of the week this week as well. So I feel pretty good about the starts of the week this week. Last week, our starts of the week were James Conner, David Montgomery. Felt good about those guys. We had Cooper Kupp as a start of the week last week. Felt good about that. Obviously, kind of got help with Puka Nacua coming out. And then we also had Stephon Diggs as the start of the week last week. 2 touchdowns. So, look, the starts of the week have been on fire to start the season. Our sits of the week, I think we're not as on fire as that. I think week 1 I told you to sit Godwin. He had a good week. Week 2 I told you to sit JSN. He had a good week. But those, I think, were the only misses on those 2 weeks. But not to toot my own horn, but the start of the week, we've kind of been on fire at the moment. And where my entertainers, he said, did you win some money? We hit some money in Underdog this week as well too. We had a lineup that paid us out some money, so we made some good money this week. That being said, that is pretty much it for this game. I think big takeaways. Obviously, Arizona looks great. Actually, we need to talk about the Rams side of the ball. I almost skipped over that. Rams side of the football, we'll talk about it. Matthew Stafford goes 19 for 27, 216 yards, 5 sacks. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Kupp gets hurt in this one. He leaves the game with a boot on his foot. The video plus the boot kind of suggests that this could be a moderate high ankle. So maybe a week or two where he doesn't play. Still waiting on the MRI to know for sure. Just not good. Bad vibes here in Los Angeles. The Rams' offensive line is beat up. Stafford was limping in the second half. Kupp's injured. Puka's injured. I don't know, man. This is tough to really want to invest in anybody here at the moment. But hello, Blake Corum. Welcome back. 8 carries. No more Ronnie Rivers. 28 yards. Demarcus Robinson, 2 for 50. One of them was a 42-yard long ball, so, not much to see there. And then just a bad day from everybody else. Not a good day, man. Not a good day. Where my entertainer says, wow, sick calls. I tried to warn you about the Rams game. Add Marvin Harrison Jr. You got a GPP winner there. For sure. But technically, I think technically the Rams game still hit the over, didn't it? It's just all of the points came from Arizona. So technically they still hit the over, I think, unless the over was 51.5, then obviously that's a bad beat. But still a lot of points. It was just all on Arizona's side of the football. Let's move on to the next game here. Our next one is going to be Steelers, Broncos. We got 3 more games, so we'll hurry up and get this one out of here. Well, we don't got to hurry up, but you know what I'm saying. Steelers, they win this one 13-6. Another boring, low-scoring game from the Steelers. Good news, Jaylen Warren actually played a lot more snaps in Week 2 than he did in Week 1, so that was positive, likely probably because he was a little bit healthier this week than he was there in Week 1. So I don't think that there should be really any concerns about Jaylen Warren moving forward. Justin Fields, he goes 13 for 20, 117 yards, 1 touchdown. So 2 games of the season for the Steelers, and 1 touchdown, Justin Fields. I think like 200-something total yards. He's winning football games, though. I don't know. Najee, 17 carries, 69 yards, no touchdown. Jaylen Warren, 9 for 42. Justin Fields, 8 for 27 on the ground. C-Pat, 2 for 3. In the receiving game, Freiermuth, 4 for 39, still being targeted. Pickens, 2 for 29. Jaylen Warren, 2 for 19. Van Jefferson, 2 for 14. Annoying. Darnell Washington gets the touchdown of the day. So we don't get the Pickens touchdown. We don't get the Freiermuth touchdown. We don't get a Warren touchdown. We don't get a Najee touchdown. You get Darnell Washington. Whatever. Thanks, Arthur Smith. Let's move on to the Denver Broncos side of the football. 6 points. Bo Nix looks horrible. Absolutely horrible. 20 for 35, 246, 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, 55.2, passer rating, 32.1 QBR. Bo Nix, 4 carries for 25. Javonte, 11 for 17. Tyler Beatty, 1 for 16. Julian McLaughlin, 3 for 6. What is there to say? Josh Reynolds, 4 for 93. Jordan Humphrey, 4 for 50. Javonte, 5 for 48. This is bad, man. This is bad. I think we've seen enough through 2 weeks now, to know that most, if not all, of these Denver options are virtually useless for fantasy football. There's very little upside with any of these guys. Maybe Javonte Williams and maybe Courtland Sutton are worth rostering, but even then, where is the upside? If you're throwing these guys in your starting lineup, you're not feeling good about it. So, I can't imagine there's anybody on Denver that you really want to have on your fantasy team at the moment. And Sean Payton, he's smug son of a bitch. It's not looking good. Sorry. If you've been around the channel for a long time, I do not like Sean Payton. There's reasoning for why I don't like Sean Payton, but look, man, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. You baited everybody he baited the Vikings. He baited everybody. These are his words. He baited everyone into picking QB so he could get his QB1 Bo Nix. Nice, Sean. Good job. Whatever, dude. I don't want to talk about this game. This is horrible. Like I said, the Broncos, they look bad. There's not a lot of points. This one was boring. Let's move on to the next game, Kansas City and Cincinnati. We got the box score here for this one. Much better of a game. People are going to complain about the flag that came in late. On the slow motion replay, it looks like the correct call. I know people want to hate, because Kansas City does get these calls late in games. The video looks like it was the right call. That being said, I don't want to debate it. I don't give a shit about these two teams. I'm a Vikings fan. We're 2-0, baby. 25 points for the Bengals. They lose. 26 for the Kansas City Chiefs. I apologize, by the way, if you hear that, you might hear it. It might pick up on the mic. Got landscapers out front. They're right by the window, so I apologize. I'm going to try and move my mic a little bit closer, and I'll talk a little bit quieter so it's not as loud. But Patrick Mahomes, 18 for 25, 151, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not the best day for Patrick Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco, 19 for 90. He gets hurt in this one. Very unfortunate for Isaiah Pacheco. He's going to be landing on IR. It's a fractured fibula in this one. The last player that we can think of, just to give you an expectation for timeline, the last player who had a fractured fibula is Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews, he missed about 8 to 9 weeks. So that was a similar injury, and that's assuming that the MRI that Pacheco gets today doesn't have any ligament damage, doesn't have any additional damage. So 8 to 9 weeks is kind of what Mark Andrews had. And he didn't look fully back even when he did come back. So this could be Very unfortunate for Isaiah Pacheco. If you have him on a team, I do. We should be looking at other options. I think top, candidates are going to be Carson Steele and Samaje Perine. They're going to be waiver wire questions. My suggestion is that you should be keeping an eye out. Now, look, keep an eye out. I'm going to have a waiver video specifically come out here tomorrow when I can get a little bit more research in on these guys. I think as of right now, this very moment, I'm leaning Steele over Perine. He profiles to kind of run the football a little bit similar to Pacheco. But keep an eye for that waiver video because I'll tell you who you need to get. But it wasn't good news, and it's not good news for Isaiah Pacheco. And this looks like it could be 2-3 months before he's back on the football field. And for fantasy football, that's pretty much the majority of your entire season. So not great for Isaiah Pacheco. That said, receiving, Rashi leads the way again, 5 for 75. Justin Watson, 2 for 22. Pacheco, 5 for 21. Worthy, 2 for 17. It was basically Rashi and Rashi only. I'm nervous about Kelsey. Very nervous about Kelsey. It looks like he's aged out. It looks like he's aged out. And I don't want to panic about it too much, but I will say I have Travis Kelsey on a dynasty team. I'm selling now. I'm shopping Travis Kelsey. I'm trying to go sell. If anybody will give me anything of value, I'm getting out. I'm done with the Travis Kelsey experience. He's still going to have days where he goes out and gives you a really good game, but he looks like age is finally caught up to him. And I think in a dynasty format, while people still view him as a top 5 guy, we should be selling. So there's that. The other side of the football, Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, he goes 23 for 36, 7 yards, an attempt, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad day overall for Joe Burrow. He did have a turnover that was pretty costly in this one. He fumbled. Cincinnati rushing, Zach Moss goes 12 for 34. Chase Brown, 4 for 31. Zach Moss was out there for 82% of the snaps. 82% of the snaps. I think he's the number 1 running back in this backfield. And not that he's like super valuable, but the Chase, more so the biggest takeaway about that is that Chase Brown, that experiment is not, it's not coming to fruition. It's not going to happen. Chase Brown not there. Where Am I Entertaining says, Kelsey looked old last year, still got numbers. Yes, but I think that was without the emergence of Rashee Rice and without, Xavier Worthy on the football team now. So it's a little bit different. So I'm kind of out now. What's annoying for Cincinnati? Mike Gesicki, 7 for 91. Eric All, tight end, 4 for 32. Drew Sample, tight end, 3 for 28. All these tight ends that you probably aren't playing in your leagues. You know what matters? Jamar Chase, 4 for 35, 5 targets. Him and Joe Burrow are arguing on the football field, pushing each other. Not ideal. Jamar Chase didn't want to talk about it at the end of the game. He said he didn't want to talk about it. They weren't arguing with each other, but Burrow was trying to get him out of a little skirmish, and Chase was getting flagged, and they just got in an argument with each other. Not what you want to see. Jamar looks like he's going to be kind of phoning it in until he gets this contract, and it's unfortunate. The Bengals are 0-2. Unfortunate, man. They're one of the more overrated teams in football. Worthy, Tank, Addison, Waddle, etc. These little guys always going to be risky, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I think I wouldn't technically throw Waddle into that range of them. Hissy fit from Jamar, for sure. Fair point on Kelsey. But that's kind of the takeaways from this game. Overall, Kansas City wins, and that's kind of how I'm feeling. But let's go to the last game of the night, Sunday Night Football. I said we were going to talk about some bad news Bears. We're going to talk about these bad news Bears right now. And no, this is not just because I'm a Vikings fan. Anybody who watched the damn game sees what I'm talking about when I say bad news Bears. Chicago loses this one 13-19. Houston, we'll start with them. CJ goes 23 for 36, 260, a touchdown. Cam Akers, Joe Mixon all kind of get carried. Joe Mixon left the game in this one. It's not normal for Cam Akers to get those carries, but it was a classic, hip drop tackle on Joe Mixon. He's going to be getting an MRI on the ankle today. We'll get more news on that, but obviously not ideal from him, I'm just looking to, like, through my news, because I realize I haven't been keeping up with any news as it's been coming in. Looks like we don't have anything. But anyways, classic hip drop. Joe Mixon gets, caught underneath, rolled up on. TJ Edwards should have been called in the game. My other takeaway from this Houston Texans team, Nico Collins, he looks like a top seven fantasy football wide receiver, period. Doesn't matter the format, doesn't matter the league style, dynasty, redraft, whatever. Top 7, man. 8 receptions, 135 yards, a touchdown. Grown-ass man, touchdown in this one. 10 targets. Stephon Diggs, 4 for 37. Tank Dell continues to operate as the third guy. There you go. Schultz, decent day. Mixon, decent in the air until he got hurt. Bad news Bears, right? Caleb Williams, 23 for 37, 174 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Caleb Williams, 5 carries on the ground, 44 yards. DeAndre Swift, 14 carries, better this week, but 18 yards, 1.3 per carry. And then DJ Moore, 6 for 53, Romo Denze, 2 for 33, no Keenan Allen in this game. My takeaway with the Bears, and the reason why you see stat lines like Swift going 14 carries for 18 yards, and you see, Caleb Williams going 174 for 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The interior offensive line, the offensive line as a whole in Chicago is horrible. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Probably bottom 7 offensive line in the NFL right now. Absolutely horrible. It is so hard for Caleb Williams to make throws when the defense is barreling down the pocket every play. This offensive line is bad. And then the offensive play calling in Chicago is horrible. Shane Waldron is writing up all this gimmicky bullshit. And he's throwing stuff east and west on the football field. Nothing north. We should be attacking downfield. You have DJ Moore. You have Romo Dunze. Caleb Williams' arm strength. And we're attacking east and west in the flats, and everything is a low A-dot. Horrible game script from Waldron over 2 weeks. Just gimmicky bullshit. That's really the best way to call it. It's bad, man. It is so bad. So bad news in Chicago. Bad news Bears. That's the way that I'm seeing it right now. Where my entertainer says Chicago offense stinks too. Bad coaching, interior O-line is bad also. It's bad, man. Bad news Bears right now. So, anyways, that is kind of it, folks. We kind of covered all of the games from yesterday, talked about all of them, kind of my takeaways, things I watched, things I noticed, things I saw, things I'm doing in my leagues moving forward. As I mentioned, though, there was a lot of injuries yesterday, a ton of them. So I am going to end this stream, and I'm going to begin my research on the waiver video. The waiver video will come out tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that one, because this is going to be a crucial week of waivers because of all the injuries that happened yesterday. So I will do my best, to get everything that I can get put together. That video will come out tomorrow morning, but that's going to be what I'm working on after I end this. But I thank each and every one of you guys that hung out with us today, recapped this last Sunday's slate. As I mentioned, we do this every single week. Glad you guys, enjoyed enough that you come in and hang out and talk with me. Where my entertainers, Brando, all you folks that come in, chat with me. Anthony was in here today. CXK was in here today. Slayer Stacker, Donnie, all you folks. I appreciate you all more than you can ever imagine. Day, thank you. But yeah, man, let's go. So appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one. I have nothing else for you today. So until then, peace out.